Okay, so I've got a composition open, and I just want to show you how layers are being used here to achieve a final outcome. So let me have a look at all the assets that we used here. So if you have a look in my footage area here, I've got a certain amount of stuff that I've used. So the one is this image, which is an anamorphic lens flare. So anamorphic means it's kind of stretched out to the left and right. I have an asteroid belt, just a photo or an image. I have some clouds. I then have an image sequence called Millennium Falcon. So this is basically just a whole series of images. If I just go through them one at a time, you'll see that, let me just keep going, you'll see that it's frame by frame a little animation made in a 3D application like Blender, and rendered out with transparency. So that's typically the way that things are done in movies, is compositing 3D together with other images. Here's another set of image sequences called a Millennium Falcon track point. So I'll explain that in a moment. Then I have this as my back plate, which is basically just an image. And then I have three other track point image sequences and a final TIE fighter image sequence. So if I just go through this, you'll see that it's frame by frame these TIE fighters coming onto the screen, also rendered out of a 3D application. So all of those assets are brought into After Effects to build up the scene. So let's have a look at how our layers are working here. So I'm going to hide all of my layers, and I'll start with the bottom one. So you can see all my bottom layers here are the track point layers. So track point layers are really there to track a point, literally, on the scene so that I can attach something to it. So you'll see that if I take the Millennium Falcon track point and I take my playhead, you'll see it's just a white dot that goes on the screen. But if I show you what's happening, let me just find the right one. It's this one. You'll see that what I've done is I've taken that anamorphic lens flare layer and I have attached it to that track point so that it follows that track point. So this is something you're going to learn how to do in this course, but you can see that I've done that for all the track points. So if I turn all of those track points on and then I turn all the anamorphic lens flare layers, which are just copies of the same thing, you'll see that they're all basically tracking their points. Okay, so those track points were also created in a 3D application to follow those TIE fighters and the Millennium Falcon. So I'm going to hide those now, and then we start to build up our scene. So we've got the background plate, which is very slightly animated so that it scales from slightly bigger to slightly smaller. And if I select that layer and I press U, that's called the Uber key, you'll see that there's keyframes here showing me where the animation is happening. Okay, so you're also going to learn that shortly as well. Then I have the clouds layer. So the clouds layer also has just some animation on it, but slightly different animation, so it scales differently to create a 3D effect. Then I have the Millennium Falcon, which is that little image sequence. So that's brought on like that. Okay, so that's another layer. Then I have the TIE fighters. That comes in now. Then I have the asteroid belt, which is that image that has been composited with a blending mode and with some effects to create that kind of atmosphere effect. Then we have the lens flares, the anamorphic lens flares, all 5 of them. So that builds up the entire scene. So if I play this back now, okay, notice the way it has to pre-render. That's the green line. So I'll just fast forward a bit until it's completely pre-rendered the timeline, and then I'll play it back in real time. Okay, so now it's rendered all the way through, so I'm just going to play it back, and you'll see that this is now a fully composited little shot made up of multiple layers interacting with each other to create a composition. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and see you next time.